One, two, three. Good morning, Tucson, and welcome to this Thursday edition of the Creative City Show here on 1030 The Voice. With me, your host, Zach Yenser. As every day, Monday through Friday, we share the stories and strategies of the people and ideas shaping Tucson's future. And along the way, we envision, we debate, we discuss the issues and themes critical towards getting Tucson to its best possible future and reaching its greatest possible potential. It's a good effort. We do it Monday through Friday, 10 to 12, every day here on the show. We have a busy lineup in the 10 o'clock hour, so I'm not going to waste too much time on introductions. In our 11 o'clock hour, just to cover that base, I will be talking to Republican write-in candidate on the Ward 1 primary race there, Sam Nagy. And we'll be talking to him. There are 4 Democrats running and now a write-in running to be on the general election ballot. And so we'll be talking as those ballots are out and are being sent back in. We'll do a little bit of politics on the second hour. But this first hour, we are doing a rapid-fire hour of the arts and culture scene in Tucson, looking at some of the creative people and ideas creating art and tackling critical issues in our community. And buckle in, strap in. It's going to be fast moving, and I'm doing it with my friend and co-conspirator, KP. Khalil Papiano, KP Madman. You might hear him laughing in the background. Sir, welcome to the studio. Thanks for putting this together.
Yes. Thank you, Zach. I appreciate it. Like Zach said, my name is Khalil Papiano. KP Madman is my company. And I'm just happy to be able to bring my peers into a space to elevate their voices in the creative and cultural things that they're doing in the city of Tucson. And my first guest that I'm going to be talking to is Greg. Sales Talking Podcast. Greg, can you give them just the lowdown of everything that Sales Talking is?
Self-talking for me, it was like a sort of a personal experiment. I had the idea to do a podcast since like 2015, and I executed it in 2017. And the only reason I was able to do it, in all honesty, was because I started following. I stopped following pointless stuff on like social medias.
Yeah.
And I started following real people that I could actually probably walk by in my own town, which is Tucson.
Yeah.
And by doing that, I ended up finding like a whole bunch of creative people and people I found interesting, people who ended up just being guests on my podcast. And so essentially for me, it was like an experiment of like self-reflection, but on a city scale. You know what I'm saying? And just to have open dialogue with people and just have conversations, because I really wanted that in my life. And so I went looking for it. And also it's fun to like hold somebody hostage for like an hour and just interrogate them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And in that same vein, what are you looking forward to for the Sales Talking Podcast?
What am I looking for? I mean, in all honesty, just to be, recently I was talking to a friend, and it's sort of like, I think I said this in the last podcast that I did, to be like the Arizona's directory, you know, be like, just this like node that's like interconnected with a whole bunch of different things going on, just because I'm a mitotero. So like I'm super curious about things, and mostly things that are creative in their own way. So yeah, I hope that I can just keep talking to people I find interesting, in all honesty.
That's awesome.
I love the sound of my voice. So,
and if you could talk to one person today,
anybody?
Yeah, anybody.
Anybody. Right off the top of my head, Graham Hancock would be great to talk to.
And why is that?
He seems to know a lot of like of history that isn't considered history. So like one example is like Göbekli Tepe. It's like this ancient monolithic structure that was buried, and a farmer found it by accident, and it's older than the pyramids are to us. So so how old the pyramids are to us, Göbekli Tepe is that old to the pyramids.
Wow.
So it's doubly that old. So like apparently to our like the way that we understand history, humans weren't supposed to be able to do that back then. Build structures like that.
But he understands that history.
Well, yeah, he understands the history. So like, and I would love to sit down and really like get deep into that, because that's super fascinating to me.
Well, hopefully he hears this, or somebody that he knows hears this.
That'd be great.
Yeah, right?
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I'm just amazed listening. This is Zach Yenser back on. KP and I are kind of going back and forth. And I just had to ask and just put this out there because I'm amazed by the people that I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't say that
I
with any
agree.
kind of like
I
arrogance,
agree.
but like you get to do 10 hours of radio a week,
Mhm.
40 hours of radio a month. I would think that I'd get around, you know?
Right, yeah.
But I talk to KP, I talk to you, and I hear about all these people who are doing incredible things in Tucson around arts and preservation and history and culture. And I don't hear about these people in the news. I don't know about them from my circles. And I'm blown away by just this kind of underground vibrancy going on. And it just sounds like you get to tap into that quite a bit on your podcast.
Yeah. I would say so.
Yeah.
It's loads of fun, and it's nice to, most of the time, since like I feel like the guests that I've have on, I'm usually their first interview.
Mm-hmm.
So like they're like open books, and like I could just bring it out. Usually I don't really even have to talk.
Yeah.
Most of the time they're just talking, and I'm just like maybe asking one simple question, and they just keep going.
And just fluid
Yeah,
conversation.
fluid
that
conversation.
Yeah.
More like glorified hanging out.
Yeah, right? Hanging out with a mic, having conversation with a mic.
Yeah.
Don't give away our secrets all in one show.
Right. All right, Greg, if people want to listen to your podcast and get in contact with you, where can they find you?
Selves Talking Podcast. I have a Facebook page. I have an Instagram page. My Twitter is HappyGreg13. I don't have one for the podcast itself. But yeah, I'm on, the podcast is everywhere: SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, KP.
All right, my next guest is Melina, aka Humble Linus, who is an El Tambo DJ, but also a multi-generational family member of La Endita.
Yes, that's correct. I'm a third generation. My grandmother migrated over here, lived in California, picked oranges, moved back to Mexico for a little bit, and then settled on the reservation in Cells. And so she met my grandfather, who's really my mom's stepdad, and she fusioned Native American food with Mexican food. And back then she was and is still vegetarian.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the dishes are vegetarian. Well, all the dishes are vegetarian, vegan friendly, but we also serve chicken and steak. But it's like a fusion of Michoacan, where she's from, and Sonora food from here in the region.
And can you talk about the importance of La Endita on 4th Avenue as it's currently being gentrified?
Wow. We opened up originally off of Scott Street by Cobra Arcade. A lot of people don't know that. Back in 1983. And at that time, my grandmother could only fit 10 people at a time inside the building. And she had the first food runner, which she actually had a friend who would go buy food with the money she would charge people as they sat down for what they ordered. And he would come back with the food and she would prepare it and serve it to them. And that's how she started the restaurant. And she moved it to 4th Avenue in 1985. And it was one building, and then she opened it up in 1990 to the second side. I think the importance of that restaurant being there is just the history of 4th Avenue itself and the culture of that community vibe. And it's really scary now to feel like being pushed out, because it's like one place is gone and then another place, and it's just getting closer and closer to us. And I think that Tucson has a very rich culture when it comes to food, and our food is very, very different, very specific in what we make, and a lot of people from all over the world still come and see us over the last 35 years that we've been there.
That's amazing. And, well, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. And if people wanted to speak to you, where can they find you? Or, Zach, do you have a question?
I do.
Okay, let's go.
I have a question. KP and I are trialing out this co-hosting thing, and I'm having a blast. I hope he is. I'm just curious, because we talk about this a little bit on this show, and I'm curious to get your kind of 30-second view of it. What about neighborhood change do you fear? Like, what would be the dynamic that would push you out?
The dynamic would be we don't own the buildings, so the building's being bought out as we speak. I think the dynamic of the rent being raised, a lot of things, I think they're just trying to push people out. So that in itself is what we fear the most. We do have a lot of community support. We're also open to change, but at this point, it's kind of like a teeter-totter. We're not really sure if we're going to stay or go, and that is really uneasy.
Right. I mean, even if the landlord is, you know, a really good person and is not intentionally trying to push you out, I think the dynamic you're speaking to is they might realize, hey, I could get a higher rent, and it might be a rent that maybe it doesn't work for you.
As a small business,
as a
family
small
owned,
business.
family run, yeah.
It's interesting. I think there's some things that we can do to kind of balance the system a little bit. But I was curious.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
And I think Zach is one of those people that really understands that at a level that he's at, running Menlo Park, running the Menlo Park neighborhood.
I didn't know that. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Well, Melina, if people wanted to find you or speak to you about this incident, or just about you and La Andita, where can they find you?
We're located at 622 North 4th Avenue, in between 4th and 5th Street. And you can also find me Friday nights at Tambo, spinning at Congress, for El Tambo. And this Friday is actually my Friday. I'm also on Instagram as Humble Lioness, Lianess.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Last but not least, Matt Biquette.
Hey,
Welcome. Good morning.
I've always wanted to try out a good morning Tucson. This is Matt.
Yeah, right? So, Matt, many people don't know that you are the sole purpose that Hotel Congress Festival is happening.
I mean, that's one way to put it. I would maybe phrase it a little differently. I've been blessed to take over as director for their long-running 15-year HOCO Fest, an annual Labor Day celebration of Tucson, all things Tucson.
Mm-hmm. And can you kind of talk to the people about what goes into, or what's at least going into this year's HOCO Fest?
Whew, I mean, honestly, everything we got. But what HOCO is becoming and what we're really trying to celebrate is the Tucson community. You know, we're looking to create a platform to not only bring people together on just a person-to-person basis, but to celebrate local artists, to celebrate local businesses, to celebrate the people who make this community what it is. And as this town inevitably is developed, it's important to come together as the resistance and develop the other things too, you know, not just the big business, not just the surface level stuff, but the community, the culture, the history, you know, supporting artists who might not normally be able to get their flavors outside of Tucson, trying to give them a platform to do so. And also, you know, bringing people in from outside of Tucson to experience it firsthand. And I'm really, really excited about this year. I'm excited to be here amongst all you and all these other guests you have coming up. I mean, these are people who are working on the festival as well, somewhat. So we have a couple performers coming up next. We have one sitting here next to me with Humble Lioness, excuse me. So, you know,
Leonessa.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a full weekend takeover of downtown Tucson. We have live music, we have community panels, we have holistic workshops, parties, flea market. It's pretty much a little bit of everything, something for everyone, and we're really excited about this year.
And you guys have an upwards of like 10 locations, right?
Yeah, we're looking at 15 to 20 participating venues this year, 10 of which will be hosting music, and 5+ more that will have some cultural events such as panels, workshops, flea market, etc.
That's awesome. And in the build of HOCO Fest, what was the most exciting moment for you this year?
Oh, man. You know, it's hard for me to even answer that. I think the most exciting thing for me is like getting closer every day.
Yeah.
Because I just want to see this beast unveiled, you know. It's a monster this year. We're really going for it. We're taking over downtown. We got some installations coming up that will really tie the art in a bigger way with Maxwell Gay, and it's some great stuff cooking. I just encourage everyone to come down to downtown Tucson Labor Day weekend and check it out for yourselves. There's everything.
Awesome. And if people, well, I mean, Zach, do you have a question?
Oh, I was gonna say, go ahead. I just, you know what? Let's get kind of information. I'll close it out with a thought.
Okay, awesome. Matt, if people want to speak to you, if they want to assist you in executing HOCO Fest in the future, where can they find you?
Yes, come one, come all, hocofest.com. It's all there. Information about this year's event, a way to get in touch with us, you know, a bigger picture of just what we're really about. So check it out, hocofest.com.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tucson. This takes us to the end of part one of three similar sections where we get to hear from some of the real creative and community work that's happening in Tucson. And I was telling somebody on the air the other day that a lot of people will say that Phoenix is the heart of Arizona, but Tucson is the soul. That Tucson is the soul. And I think back to Austin's story, even back in the 80s. What we see in Austin today was driven by a local music and arts and food scene that just blew up. We think of South by Southwest, and we forget that it was driven by music, and even the changes along 4th Ave, right? What 4th Ave is today was almost blasphemous when it was built up, right? But we figured out a way to continue to infuse our culture and our community through change and progression in Tucson. And we always seem to do that. And I think it's a beautiful thing. So this takes us to the end of the first segment. We're going to do a Grand Central Station switch. If you're watching us on YouTube this morning, go to kvoi.com, go to the Watch tab, and in a second you'll get to see this major switch where we're going to exit 3 and bring in 3. And Tucson, this is really a spotlight of just some of the creative work happening. Thanks again to KP for curating it. We're going to head to a break here on 1030 The Voice, trusted local news and talk. We'll be right back in a minute. Don't go away. Stay buckled in. Tucson, welcome back to part 2 of this first hour of our Thursday edition of the Creative City Show here on 1030 The Voice. We're talking about people and ideas. We're talking to people and about ideas shaping Tucson's future. And I am tag teaming this our show with my friend KP, Khalil Papiano. KP Madman, although he's pretty relaxed right now in the studio. He has his fingers on the pulse of the creative and community and arts scene and culture in Tucson, and we're doing a kind of rapid fire round, a rapid fire overview of 9 creatives and artisans and culture changers that are here in Tucson that you probably haven't heard about. We just finished with 3 of those, and they exited the studio, and we brought 3 more in, and here we go. There was a question, KP, how do you spell the festival at Hotel Congress? Let's start there, and then let's introduce who's here.
For sure. So if you want to go to the Hotel Congress Festival, it is HOCO, HOCO Fest. And you can talk to Matt Paquette about that. You can go to hocofest.com to find out more information about the full, honestly, phenomenal, extraordinary work that Matt and his team have done. And the first person that I want to talk to is Fonz520, right?
Yep.
Fonz, you just more recently just did a bunch of mural restoration work, right? Can you kind of talk about that process and how you even got into that work in general?
Yeah, I mean, with my crew, Flowers and Bullets, we do a lot of the mural work, a lot of the artwork, community artwork projects. And so I was contacted by David Tineo, who's a local, well-known artist, especially like here in Tucson. And so they wanted to do a mural restoration project, but not only do that, but also find a way of incorporating some youth. So we did some outreach for a lot of the kids that are in the immediate community. And then from there we got to organizing, and then we restored 3 murals that have been there since the 70s. I want to say since 1970, and that was all just from the civil rights movement, the Chicano movement here in Tucson. And so kind of just paying respects to that mural was put up, and then over the years it got worn away, and so we kind of brought it back.
That's phenomenal. And you just mentioned your collective, Flowers and Bullets, and I'm a fan of Flowers and Bullets. I know many other people are fans of Flowers and Bullets. Can you kind of talk about what you all do in your neighborhood?
Yeah, so Flowers and Bullets, it started in Barrio Centro, which is primarily, that's where the founders are from, which are Tito Romero and then Jacob Robles, and then you have like Dora Martinez. And so a lot of us just doing a lot of the organizing work here in Tucson, a lot of the community work centered in like cultural, social justice, all those things, all those different intersections, finding a way to kind of bring it all together and do something that's beneficial for community, but also something that's like attractive, especially to like youth, being able to do that outreach and have folks' attention. And so we do a lot of sustainability work. We have a 9.5-acre farm that was once Julia Keene. It was an abandoned school for about 15 years or so. And so we submitted a proposal to acquire that land, and that was a couple years ago. And since then we've been moving. We have chickens, we have goats. We're doing a lot of planting, a lot of crop production. And so getting the ball rolling with that, I mean, it's still super fresh and we're still moving, trying to figure it out, but it's all grassroots. We don't have people who are professional grant writers or anybody that, other than, how we see it as ourselves as professionals, because that's a lot of it's like self-taught and a lot of it's like do it yourself, and so that, and then we also do the artwork stuff and we do water harvest.
Still doing it,
Right.
and then I don't know if it was last year or the year before where you guys won a $600,000 grant. And can you kind of talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we got this property, and then from there it was kind of like dang, like, what are we gonna do with all this land? Like, how are we gonna go about doing this? And like I say, we do it from the ground up, and so we started organizing, and so a grant came around that we got wind of, and so I think that it's the Agnes Howery grant, and it's located through the University of Arizona, and so I think every year they choose a local organization that they want to benefit, and it's competitive, like you have to compete, and so there's a bunch of different organizations that do sustainability work, agricultural work, cultural work, and you gotta, you have to do your submission, you have to do your pitch, and it comes down to the finalists, and then from there it's a selection of who will get that grant. And so we just spoke on what we do, how we started, and the work that we intend to do in the future, and what we're doing currently. And so they found value in that, and we were able to win that grant about a year ago.
That's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
If people want to find you, Flowers and Bullets, if they
Mhm.
want to hire you to restore a mural,
Yeah.
where can they find you?
So, I mean, you could find Flowers and Bullets. Our website's flowersandbullets.com. We also have our Facebook. There's also our Instagram. Our Instagram's flowers_and_bullets. And then myself, you could find me at Fonz520 on Instagram. Mainly that's where I function out of. And so we also have our email, flowers. It's flowers.bullets@gmail. Look it up. It's on the website.
Let's hope at that.
I'm on the other end of it, so I don't really email Flowers and Bullets.
Yeah. Thank you, Fonz, for sharing.
Yeah, appreciate you.
And the next person that we're going to get into, one of my favorite artists in Tucson, Spiritual.
Yo.
Spiritual, many people don't know that you're only 19 years old.
Why? Now they do.
Now they do.
Now
Now
everyone
they do.
knows.
Share it with the world. But you just recently dropped a project, recently, speaking of this, is that you dropped a project called Time Your Drugs.
Yes, sir.
Can
Time
you
and drugs.
Can you speak about Time Your Drugs and all of the work that went into it?
Oh man. Yeah, it started off like as something like just like any other mixtape almost, just putting together all my favorite songs. And then after a while, we got wind of that we could like launch a Kickstarter, and that Kickstarter is like for artists and stuff. So we just kept pushing that and kept running that up, and got a lot of support from the city, like twice the amount of support that we expected, and the amount of hours everybody put into this. Milkweed, Q, Ray, like all the loud cats, like my brothers, like my mom, everybody sacrificed a lot, including me, for this and towards this, and put a lot of like good energy into it. And seeing it come back was really beautiful. Like there's a lot of steps, a lot of processes, like a lot of different events like surrounding the whole thing. And yeah, it was a long road, but it was worth it. I think it was like meant to be. Like it made me feel like I was really meant to be on this planet.
Yeah. And I was taken back by, like, not only were your raps phenomenal on it, the sequencing was phenomenal, cover art, the whole thing was just amazing.
Thank you, man.
But you also produced the whole thing.
Yeah, and that was always a huge thing, like, because I even kind of felt bad, like, not felt bad, but I have so many homies that produce and make music or play instruments, like, and we brought people in for certain things, like, and Ray was the one who, like, I would say helped me executively produce the Sonics with the engineering, because he, like, showed me how to use the plugins that I had. Like, I had everything, but I didn't know how to use it until he came through, like, but yeah, man, like, there was, like, I had so much beats and so much music that I just felt like, I don't know, like, I stopped even putting out, like, beat tapes and stuff, because I was just, like, even kind of greedy. Like, I might as well give it to a homie and rap on it myself. And
Yeah.
it was just, like, a compiling whole thing of just sounds that, like, resonated with, like my heart, man. And
Mhm.
what I hear, like, in my dreams, what I hear in my head, like, all that.
And you're not new to this either.
Nah, man, I've been, my brother, like, first started rapping in, like, 2007. I just wanted to, like, find instrumentals for him and record them at first. Then after a while, I was like, I'm gonna just make beats. I really started taking it serious in, like, 2012-ish, but I've been, like, messing around on Fruit Loops and GarageBand since, like, 2010, like, making, like, dumb beats and stuff.
Yeah. And then I was thrown back by when Q told me that you had produced, just kind of like curated an entire like 128 track tape.
126, or it's either 26 or 27. It's technically like my first debut as Spiritual.
Yeah.
When I came up like with the whole name, the whole transcendence of the whole thing, it was just this whole huge like vibe, this whole like mantra almost. It was weird. It was just a Dropbox. Nobody knows about it. Like 26 people downloaded it. One of them is in this room. I just saw.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. And what are you looking forward to? I know you all have Hoko Fest coming up, and you and Nina are going to be a part of that along with your collective Ojalá Systems.
Yeah, we have a lot to look forward to. There's like Hoko Fest itself is gonna be huge. Everybody on it is amazing. Like the whole crew's excited. We're gonna open up for Omar Apollo on the 29th of August, and then Injury Reserve on the 1st, and then on the Friday I think on the 30th I'm pretty sure we're gonna do something with Notch, and then what is it, the 22nd Nina has Como Chimbita at Congress. I think I have a show the 25th. I'm not too sure yet, but Ray has a Bravo Park Jam that he's gonna throw September 8th and on the south side. It's gonna be tight. We got a lot of things coming up.
That's fire. If people want to invest, if they want to talk to you, they want to just give you a hug because you're just a warm individual, where can they find you?
They can find me at Spiritual, PSYPIRITUAL. So on Instagram it's just straight Spiritual, and then on Twitter there's like an underscore right before it because somebody else had it. It's like psychotherapy in Africa.
That's so fitting.
Yeah, no, it's tight. I was like, all right, y'all can have it.
Yeah. Thank you, Spiritual.
Thank you.
Hey, so the very last but not least person that we are talking to is Ariana Luna.
Yes. Hey.
Hey, Ariana Luna. Ari, you run the Tucson Unity Festival.
Yes.
But you're also an entrepreneur and you have a brick and mortar on 4th Avenue.
Yeah, I do.
Can you talk about real quick what Tucson Unity Festival represents, and just this past time that you did it, what exactly you all are trying to accomplish?
Yeah, so this is going to be, the next year coming up is going to be the 13th annual Tucson Unity Festival. And, it's really a homegrown kind of thing. Students run it. Of course, I started it when I was only a little baby freshman in high school. But the person who started it all was Consuelo Aguilar, and she was the creator, unfortunately she did pass away with cancer, so we make it also about, health awareness and all that. But it's basically, a festival where we bring the community together through the 5 elements of hip-hop. And so that, includes DJ, MCing, graffiti art, breakdancing, and we brought in the 5th element of streetwear, which is up my alley because, of course, of the brand that I just started and also been working for a long time. So Rep TUC, and my brand that I just kind of created, La Bella Luna.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've been, doing this for a while.
Yeah.
And so this past year we had a bunch of local artists, performers, vendors, food trucks, car show, local studios who performing in dance, graffiti art. We even had Cobra Arcade bring in the games for the kids to play in the cafeteria, which was something new that we've never done before. So it's been really awesome. We're actually going to be doing a kind of like a mini Unity Festival. Just got the confirmation yesterday that it's good to go, but we're going to be doing it at Cobra September 13th. So that'll be, small little mini Unity Festival kind of to promote it in April.
Yeah, just bringing it up
until the next. Mm-hmm.
Nice. And can you talk about Rep Tuck?
Yes.
Right? Can you talk about what all that goes into that? Because you being so young, starting the festival and then coming into being an entrepreneur, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so I, actually found my place there with the shop working with Unity Festival. So originally, you know, I would reach out to a bunch of local businesses, go out and be like, you know, if you want to donate or just let me borrow clothes, I would sell them or I would give them back. You know, a lot of people would just donate the clothes eventually, but you know, I started kind of just doing my own thing with that, and I ended up becoming the manager and now co-owner of Rep TUC, which is 402 North 4th Avenue, a little shop next to Generation Cool. With the whole Netflix thing, kind of put Tucson on the map with Generation Cool. So we're right next to them, and yeah, you know, I've been trying to focus on my business as well, which is a little sister brand. So I do more of the women's stuff, customizations on like t-shirts, clothing, and my own little like brand. But yeah, so it's been awesome.
That's awesome. And Zach has a question.
Yeah, this is Zach checking back in here. I don't know how to ask the question, but I continue to be baffled. I said this in the first segment, so KP will remember it, but this will be new to you guys. It seems like there's a level of what Tucson knows and sees and talks about, whether that's entrepreneurship, arts, and culture. There kind of seems to be a suite of people and ideas, right, that Tucson talks about. And I'm fascinated by all of the entrepreneurs, artists, creatives, community development going on that we don't know as much about. And I don't understand why that is. And I don't know if this would be considered maybe kind of more the urban entrepreneurship, urban arts, urban culture. And if that's the right label to put on it, still, why doesn't it get more kind of airtime, if you will, in the Tucson scene? And I know I'm asking a big question we could spend a whole segment on, and we're out of time as it is, but I don't know if like KP or Ariana, if somebody wants to speak to that, because like this show is about the people and ideas, the creative people and ideas shaping Tucson's future. And I think it was Gregorio. I was like, I've never, you know, heard of most of these people that KP's bringing in, and why is that? You know, because if anybody 40 hours of radio a month, I should be knowing about what you guys are doing. And I'm learning new things this entire hour. I'm trying to figure out, like, at a systems level what's going on, you know?
Yeah. I'm sorry, my bad. I'll get this out the way.
We probably have, like, one person that we can hit before we got to go. But
I feel like the people that get brought in sometimes don't always deserve the space. And people who do deserve the space don't take it enough in the times that we should.
That was perfect.
Yep.
And for those individuals of me being in board of directors rooms, if you all want to you're just curious, go to look at all these different board of directors rooms, look at these resources, look at these funding places that have all these monies. They have all of the resources that individuals like Fonz, like Flowers and Bullets would need and
Have to make.
Yeah, and then we have to make these resources for ourselves, or we have to discover them from outside resources outside of Tucson. And if it is in Tucson, we are figuring it out day by day. We don't have people that are mentoring us, that are pushing us to create infrastructure for us to live as individuals and as creative people.
I wanna say so much, but I'm not even gonna say anything. 'Cause I'm just gonna go on for days.
So, but don't worry. Like, this won't be the last time that we talk to you here in the studio. Is hopefully my plan, and then maybe KP and I can work on a little bit of a different format where maybe we can, you know, do a few at a time and spend the whole hour and we just get into it together. But Tucson, the Creative City show is dedicated to some of these kind of edgier, more grassroots, kind of more I don't know, I'm gonna say underground. I don't know if that's the right, you know, kind of an underground dedicated to kind of talking about some of these things happening in Tucson. And again, thanks to KP for helping to curate this. Thank you guys for coming on, the first of hopefully many conversations. In Tucson, we're not done yet. We've got one more a segment like this. We'll have a Grand Central Station moment. We'll have these three individuals leave and three more come in, and we'll close out the show with numbers 7, 8, and 9 of the 9 artists, creatives, entrepreneurs, and culture changers that KP brought into the studio today. You're on 1030 The Voice, trusted local news and talk. We'll be right back. Tucson, welcome back to this 10 o'clock hour here on the Creative City Show on 1030 The Voice, as we talk about people and ideas, creative people and ideas shaping Tucson's future. This city is bubbling over with creative talent, creative people, creative culture, arts, entrepreneurship, and it's stuff that you don't always hear about, and that's why we're talking about it on the Creative City Show with the help of my co-host today, KP, Khalil Papiano. I like saying that name because it sounds good when you say it right, and I say it right, so I like to say it. But I got KP to my right, and he has brought together 9 artists, creatives, entrepreneurs, and so much more here for a kind of fly by the seat of your pants look at what's going on in Tucson. So I'm going to turn the mic over to KP to introduce who we have in studio as we close out this 10 o'clock hour. KP, it's all yours.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a fantastic morning. I know I am. So first who I'm going to talk to is young Davon. Young Davon.
Hello.
You you are an artist. You are a bubbling artist. You've been doing this rap career so far for how long?
Like as an actual career, like a year or two.
And you have done just an amazing things. Can you kind of get into the echelon of what you just did recently, which is you went on tour?
Yeah, we threw our own tour in Texas. It was pretty funny. We went to San Antonio, San Marcos, then Austin and Houston. It was pretty cool.
And this isn't something that's happened just kind of suddenly. You've built up to this point in time. You run a studio, you co-own a studio, Diamond Doge Studio.
Yeah, tap in
for the recording services.
Yeah, shout out Hunter.
Yeah, you also have won an award as one of the best rappers in Tucson. Can you kind of talk about that story?
Oh yeah, a few years ago there was this award. It was through AZMTs, which is Arizona Mixtapes. It's in Phoenix. They had this thing for Tucson Artist of the Year, and then like I just signed up for it, and then like 800 something people voted for me, so I like won that. It was pretty cool.
And you last year, if I were to say, you are one of the hardest working artists that I know, the hardest working rappers I know, that is the consistency. You putting out like 6 different projects last year with your debut project Aries that you put out last year, and now leading up to the Hoko Fest performance this year.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, sorry. Can you talk a little bit about that, about your rise?
Yeah. So first I made I just had a bunch of stuff on SoundCloud, so I just started putting my stuff on Spotify and that. So Young Collection Volume 1 and 2, and then like I was like, oh, it's time to make a project. So I just tapped into Aries, linked in with Charles from Studio Z, shout out, and then we just made Aries over like 6 months, and I released that in October, and now we're here. Like Aries, like it just really took me off. Like there's a song on it which popped off, which I can't say on the radio, but it's like
I appreciate it. I told these guys that if this is the last show I ever do, this would be a good one to go out on. But let's keep it clean, and they've done it so far.
Yeah, shout out to shout out the FCC. We see you.
They know the game. Oh man, so I just wanted the mic real quick because I may be going a little crazy, but you look really familiar, and I feel like we met. You help young people learn music as well in the city, right? Are you affiliated with the School of Rock at all? Or?
Yeah, I run a studio out of there.
Yeah,
that's where the Diamond Doge Studio is.
I was doing a video commercial there for Vantage West Credit Union,
yes.
And it was with your boss. Oh well, I know you wear a couple of hats in there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember her name, but
Sarah.
So I was doing an interview with Sarah, and the School of Rock teaches young people about music and has summer programs and things like that, and you are a pretty core component of it. And I'm like, It finally clicked as I'm sitting here watching you. I'm like, I know that guy, and now I know why I know that guy. So
yeah,
thanks for helping young people learn music. It's important.
We had a summer camp, and I just taught a bunch of kids, like 20 to 30 kids, how to like rap. and stage presence. So
That's fire. Thank you, Young Davon, for sharing your story. If people want to talk to you, where can they find you?
at Cool Man Davon. It's cool, then man, then Davon, Davon. And everyone listening just lost the game or something. I don't know.
All right.
Shout out Kaiser.
Yeah. My next person that I'm going to be talking to is Ben Halsero. Ben, DJ, producer, event curator. We just did a collaborative event with Pushing Buttons where we flipped 3 KXCI records.
Yeah.
And we had veteran producers, new producers to the scene, or not new to the craft.
Yeah.
Yeah, not new to the craft, but they are new to. They're just bubbling in the scene.
Yeah. I mean, not. I mean, they're just like they're people that are kind of producers as a whole are just like kind of underground, just by nature. Like we would all rather be in our homes or like in our studios, just kind of making beats. Like that's kind of what we all do. I say we because like I'm a producer. I'm a producer first. Like I've been a producer for 10 years. You know, I've just been working on stuff. I've curated my sound. I've built myself up, and I've just like worked on all of that. But like, so I get that mentality. But I also, much like in the hip hop world, there's a competitive nature amongst all of us. Like we want to see, who can whip up what with doing like certain kits. And so I was doing some like roulettes and stuff before.
Yeah.
Like kind of like beat battles, and we were doing like competitions. So it's like I would release a drum kit and a sample. Like, all right, cool. You guys have 4 days. Make a 2-minute track. And then we were getting like 4 or 5 submissions, and they were like, kind of, they were good. They were great. Honestly, some of them were like really fire, but it was just like, it's the same 4 or 5 people every single time.
Yeah.
And then, you hit me up and you were like, hey man, how do we make a roulette happen? And I was like, well, we just do it. there's no how. Like it's just, you just got to do it. You got to put in a little bit of time and like curate everything down to the T, and then just like make it. I mean, I think we did a good job.
It was amazing.
All those guys are amazing. Bittigan is nuts. Tim Wynn is congratulations. Like mad. Just everyone hated that first record too. That's the best part. And like those were all some of the best beats.
Yeah.
I was like, man, what a great first round.
Yeah. And and then I also wanted to get into talking about the label. Actually, you know what? We may not even have time. You have a label called Nobodies.
I do. I mean, it's more of a collective, but yeah, it's a group of there's about 5 of us that started this. It's myself, Devoid, Golden Deo, Round One, Bambi, and Bittigan. He's on that as well, and we just came together. We're like, we do everything we can to kind of like push each other forward and like push our personal careers, our personal growth, but also like as a community, which is number one. But at the end of the day, like we were talking about it, and like that's why we came up with Nobodies, was like we're not like, I'm not trying to be, Halsero, big name Halsero, or like big name Bittigan. Like we're just trying to be and like push the community and push the collective and like push the sound, and that's why we got Nobodies.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. I really appreciate it. As we're running out of time, where can people find you?
All over the place. I'm on the internet as Halsero Music. You can find me at Bookman's on the east side, who was one of our sponsors. I work there by vinyl. It's pretty dope. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Halsero Music, and then SoundCloud, also Halsero Music.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben.
No problem.
Last but not least, Tanya Nunez.
Hello.
We have a film just extraordinaire.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that, but
Right.
trying to get there. Yeah, for sure.
Can you talk about how I heard about you is that I heard about you through Jennifer. Shout out Star Girl. Heard about you through her, and she had told me a little bit about your story at the U of A, because you have a film degree.
Yes.
And you won a film competition.
Yes.
out of the U of A, based on the film was based on an immigrant mother.
Yeah. So I made a movie. It was my senior thesis film, and they do an event where they screen all those movies, and I won Best Director. And yeah, it was a movie about immigrant single mother living in the United States and just dealing with all the problems that they have to face. That a lot of people don't understand, and I kind of wanted to make that connection to people that, because those type of stories are never told.
Yeah.
So.
And you're working on a follow-up.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's just another movie. It's completely different thing, but yeah, it's my first movie out of school, so it's definitely different, and that's why it's kind of exciting too. And I'm actually filming it in my small town from Douglas, Arizona. That's where I'm from originally, and that's been exciting too because it's a rural community and there's not that much art going on there. I mean, there's so many crazy artists out there, but it's hard to actually build, a community and stuff. So I've been like with this movie alone, it kind of made some momentum there, I feel. So yeah.
And can you kind of talk about the plot of Monsoon?
Yeah, so yeah, it's called Monsoon, and it's a fiction short film, and it's about this young woman who's coping with the loss of her loved one, and also how it relates to her attachment to her small town. So it's kind of basically this movie about, living in a small town and how that kind of affects your perception of the world and stuff like that. And it's called Monsoon because it also kind of revolves around monsoon season, which I feel a lot of us connect like in a very nostalgic and like emotional way. So I kind of wanted to incorporate that because, if you're from around here, the monsoons like mean a lot,
Yeah, especially because it's ridiculously hot.
Yeah, exactly.
What are we doing, guys? Climate change. Anyway, now Zach.
Man, I mean, this I'm getting the 2-minute countdown, the 1-minute countdown in my ear. This has been amazing. KP, thank you for curating it. Thank you for what you're doing. If someone wants to go find the video, where can they go find it?
Well, it's not gonna be out. The newest video is not gonna be out yet, and but you could follow me at T Nunez with the V, so it's TNVNEZ in Instagram, and I'll be posting information about it there, and I'll be hosting at Subspace in a month. So yeah, in Tucson here. Woo!
Thank you guys for being here. I mean, Tucson just has so much young talent that is doing so many incredible things. KP, thank you again for curating it. It's been a pleasure to co-host with you. We'll do it again soon. Until next time, thank you guys so much. But that's not it for the Creative City Show. Hour 2, we're coming back. We're going to talk some Tucson, and then a write-in candidate for City Council, Sam Nagy, will be in to talk about his path to hopefully getting on the ballot for the general election. Come on back, 10:30 The Voice.